It's boom time for lobby groups in Nigeria, with the leadership of the executive branch of government choosing its political cabinet and the legislature preparing to elect the leadership that will guide and direct its affairs. So, unsurprisingly, visits to the presidency have surged ahead of President Tinubu's announcement of members of his team, with various groups trying to push their candidates, the kind of lobbying we see taking place in the National Assembly as the leadership race accelerates there and the aspirants try to strengthen alliances. Meanwhile, you've got both the executive and the legislature overreaching themselves, trying to influence each other's choice of candidates. So what should the correct political formula be for the relationship between these two crucial arms of government? I'll be joined in the studio by the former presidential special advisor on National Assembly matters, Senator Florence Giwa. Also on the program, the latest portrait of Nigeria through the eyes of Dike Chukwumerije, one of this country's most prominent writers and performance poets, who's become an established name on the national stage as he reflects on the issues and concerns of contemporary Nigeria and takes a hard look at this country under a new president, Bola Tinubu. To what extent is life in Nigeria likely to be enhanced or fractured by this new, fearsomely potent political reality? Is he despondent or hopeful? How is he likely to right this new Nigeria? I'll be joined in the studio by the lawyer, writer, and performance poet Dike Chukwumerije. Plus, we have our analyst who gives us her perspective on the news and issues of the day. I'm Charles Anyegolu, and this is Arise Prime Time. So, how strong is the executive's grip on the legislature in Nigeria? What should the correct political formula be for the relationship between these two crucial arms of government? For years, Senator Florence Giwa has been committed to the building of a democratic Nigeria, a skilled politician who fought to remove the last vestiges of military rule. After the return of democracy, having already been in the House of Representatives, she became a senator, and later, as a member of the PDP, she became a key ally of the then President Olusegun Obasanjo, who made her his special advisor on National Assembly matter. But years later, in a country where political parties have no ideologies, her political philosophy became her commitment to the people, and she migrated from the PDP to the APC, the party now in power. But she's been at odds with the leadership of the executive over what she sees as its meddling in the affairs of the legislature, something she believes violates the core constitutional values that underpin the separation of powers. Well, for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by the former Presidential Special Advisor on National Assembly matters, Senator Princess Florence Giwa, OON. There's so much to talk about there. I mean, I would love to know the history of the princess part. I mean, maybe not now.
No,
but,
not now. I mean,
but someday it'll be good to get that. But we know what OON is. That's a national honor. Yes. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Let me just ask you, first of all, what's your reaction as a member of the APC to the news that the Speaker of the House, Femi Gbajabiamila, is now President Tinubu's Chief of Staff?
Well, I think Femi is eminently qualified, because he has a good understanding. And also it will be good for the President because Femi has a good understanding of the legislature. And if we have been in the National Assembly for the length of time that Gbajabiamila, I hope I have the word right, has been, and won elections several times, in a constituency like Surulere and all those areas, so I believe that he understands Nigeria, also understands Tinubu, because your chief of staff as president must be somebody that understands you, that you can trust, that's close to you, that would shield you, protect you. You understand? watch your reactions to issues and then knows how to handle. I think he's eminently qualified. He's a very, very brilliant young man that I like very much.
Yeah, he certainly is brilliant.
Yes.
No question about that. But when you look at the, I mean, let's move away from that and to the area that we wanted you to talk about, which is the current race of the leadership of the Senate, the 10th Assembly. When you look at that race, what do you see? Is it all in order, out of order, diverting, off the track?
You know, it's so difficult to talk about what's going on now. It's complete change, you know, from what took place in my time to now, because sometimes I stop to ask myself if these people really understand what they're contesting for. Because there are three arms of government, the judiciary, you understand, the executive and the legislature. And election, you know, whoever is going to be the leader, either in the House or the Senate, is seen as, you know, one amongst equals, you understand? And it's totally different. You would have won your election in your constituency, and you would have been seen to be qualified, you know, to come and represent your constituency. So that's the end of the story with Nigeria and the constituency, because you're there representing your constituency. And as a matter of fact, once you get to National Assembly, you are like one family coming there to work for the nation. You understand? Not thinking about where you come from or what political party, although you still, you know, protect your party. Now, the choice of the leadership is entirely, completely the business of the legislature. You understand? Because these people are not going to Abuja or you know, Lagos or whatever, you know, to go and sit over an assembly. They're sitting over the Senate and the House of Rep. And they're going to be with their colleagues that have also won election like them to come there. So now, if I come there, I should be allowed, you understand, to choose who I believe, you know, is qualified to be my leader. I should be allowed to look at all the contestants, you understand, without any external interference, because it is what we fought against in our time. We fought against, you know, executive interference.
So in that respect, how do you assess the political culture right now that seems to allow, even promote, the executive meddling in the process of choosing leaders of the National Assembly?
See, Charles, I don't think it's healthy for both parties. Do you understand? I don't think that people have changed. I don't think that lawmakers, once you win that election to go and be a lawmaker and you settle down, you start getting a good grip of the Senate rules and proceedings, you understand? You start thinking about how to actualize what you promised back home, and you settle down as a lawmaker. You now start worrying about any interference from outside. And at some stage, grandstanding would come in, you understand? And I think at the end of the day, it can be counterproductive. You understand? It can turn out to be counterproductive at the end of the day. And I'm speaking from experience. You understand? It can be counterproductive because people settle down and say, no, this leader was imposed on me. This is not the leader I want. I think the mistake everybody made was to come out and say that this one is supporting this, the party is supporting this, the president should be protected. The president should be left out of, you know, the choice of who the leadership is going to be. You understand? You should protect him. It doesn't, at the end of the day, like I said, it can be counterproductive. You know, so
given that the president, at least we've been told that the president has sort of focused on someone that he wants, what does that portend?
I don't even want to believe that, because the president also is a lawmaker. You know, the good thing, what I like about this government is that everybody, they're all lawmakers. You know, the president is a lawmaker, the vice president is a lawmaker. Even though at the time the president was in the Senate, you know, we had that 10 months, but so much happened. And also, President Tinubu is a very, very experienced politician, a very deep human being that understands this country. So I'm not sure that he will come out, having seen what happened in the past. And again, you are, excuse me, we're going through very precarious times. Because even in the Senate, the ruling party isn't that numerically strong. And the president is a politician. So the president appreciates that, you understand? So I do not think, I still don't believe that the president would come out to say that this is who I want. I believe that the president may have his choice, you know, but I want to believe that the president would allow the lawmakers the freedom to choose who they like. You understand? Taking care of, you know, regional spread, you know, taking care of, you know, political party interests. But I think in everybody's interest, it will be safer to allow the people to make their choice.
So do you think that, because I mean you've emphasized the importance of this. You yourself were the presidential special advisor on National Assembly matters. So you were liaising between the executive and the legislature. But
initially the relationship wasn't good at all.
Right.
Because it's the same separation of powers, you know. That assignment came after reconciliation. Because we stood very, very firmly and strongly against, you know, executive interference.
Yeah, but then you started representing the executive.
Yeah, you know, because I had experience, you know, and then because you see,
So how did you manage that? I mean,
no, how did I manage to manage both sides?
Yeah, because I mean, you had to.
I worked from experience because initially when I got to the Senate, I wasn't friends with the president. I was one of those that were not friends with the president because
that's President Obasanjo.
Yes, right. We're not friends because we fought against, you know, executive interference seriously. So eventually we reconciled. But I had learned, like learning on the job, you know, and I had taken lessons from what happened. So that is what I was able to now put into practice to be able, because for 2 years it was difficult for this country to run. Because the executive and the National Assembly were at war, you know, impeaching and removing and putting back. But the good thing is that when I took up that assignment, number one, I had unlimited access to my boss, the president. Also, because I'd been in the assembly and as I was one of the troublesome ones, so I knew my friends, I knew the troublesome.
Nobody wanted to cross you, basically.
No, and my friends were still there. And then I had access to the Senate President and the Speaker. But one important thing I encouraged was that these are lawmakers who have promised effective representation. Whatever policy is going to be introduced to them in the way of bill must be discussed. So I encourage several engagement meetings at the embryonic stage of any policy or any bill.
So you were basically there lobbying on behalf of the government, but being conscious of the separation of powers.
And then establishing cordiality and mutual respect. You understand? And that went very well. It helped a lot. Yes.
I mean, so you said that you don't think the focus should be on what the president wants. Do you see?
It shouldn't be at all.
Right.
Just mark it, and I'm asking Nigerians to mark it down that at the end of the day, it's going to be counterproductive.
Right.
And the president is a very brilliant, smart, deep man. The president knows that at the end of the day, it could be.
So do you see that as subverting the independence of the legislature and therefore tainting democracy in Nigeria? Does it go that far?
It could in a way, Charles. It could, and you know, I'm sure they know that it could, because you see, it's not really. I would not say that it is the fault of the executive as of today. You understand? It is the fault of the people saying that the president is with me. You understand? The same. I've seen things happen.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be a major surprise if they are in fact telling the truth.
I've seen who said the president put me there. Go and sit down and use the gavel and attempted to use that gavel to bring down the same president that he said put him there. You understand? So if you want to be a leader of the Senate president, first of all, even ask yourself, can I do the job? Do I have the temperament? Do I have the composure? Do I have the knowledge of the standing rules? Can I see through long debates? Then you should ask yourself, because it's one thing to get the job, it's another thing to keep the job. So are you going to be able to keep the job? And then you now try to convince your colleagues that you possess all these qualities that I've mentioned here. Convince your colleagues, not the president. It's your colleagues that
And of course,
you
there's always a threat of impeachment hanging over your head, isn't there?
Of course, you know, Charles, I tell you something. On the day of proclamation, you know, if for any reason, a Senate president that does not meet the needs of the people, the expectation or qualification of the people, or the people want,
you mean the people in the National
I'm telling
Assembly,
you that on that same night, meetings can start.
You mean counter meetings
on
how to pull you down?
On how to pull you down. You know, it's a very, very difficult job, and
daggers drawn.
And there's so many oppositions, and the guys are young and all. You know, we're going to go through precarious times, but it can be managed if only they're allowed to sit down, discuss, calm nerves. You understand? So, okay, it's not your turn; it is this person's turn, and then let them have conversations among themselves.
But you mentioned that the ruling party, the APC, of which you're a member,
Yes.
is numerically weak in the National Assembly. What dangers does that portend?
It's very dangerous. You understand? It's very dangerous. So they have to make friends and strengthen their number. It happens because, like, when I was in the Senate, I was APP, but you know, because I believed in the candidate that emerged. You understand? I was working with the other group, not with my party.
Yeah, but you eventually crossed over to the PDP, didn't you?
Yeah, but I mean, after a long battle, you understand? But I did not, like, support PDP. I was supporting the individual.
Yeah,
and it's going to happen like that. You understand? Already it's happening. It's going to happen like that. My party can say it's Charles, and I can say no, it's Jacob. Oh, you understand?
You are, of course, as I mentioned, a senior member of the APC, and everyone knows you have lots of legislative experience. I mean, you were a member of the House of Representatives, then you became a senator, then you became President Obasanjo's special advisor on National Assembly matters. I mean, do you speak to the APC leadership about some of these concerns that you have?
I have discussions with my colleagues. I'm in touch with my colleagues, and also try to advise. You understand? And
because I mean, they really ought to listen to you. You've got a lot of experience.
Yeah, but I mean, it's okay if they like to listen. But it's important that you know, you beef up your numbers. You know, you need the numbers. You know, because right now there are even too many parties. I don't know, NNPP, ABGA. You know, all of them, they can come together to form a very, very strong opposition force. But the party APC has to work out. We have to work out to make friends and bring people to join us.
Right.
Yes.
So in that respect, it's management of the
absolutely, Charles.
Relationship between the legislature and the executive is very important.
Absolutely. Everybody has work to do. Absolutely. Even if you're not on the job, you can come from outside and you know, talk to people. You know, I mean, instead of wasting energy going outside to campaign, getting people to say demonstration that Mr. B must be Senate President, which is totally out of order, use that energy to make friends on the floor of the you know, of the assembly.
Well, I mean, you've said it in very uncertain, I mean, very certain sort of terms, that you don't think it's important. You know, the executive should meddle in the affairs of the legislature. But do you think?
I stand strongly against.
Yes,
you know, against.
Yeah,
I mean, I stand for separation of power.
Yeah, you made the point.
But with you understand, separation, but with mutual respect and cordiality and working together. Yes.
And that is coming from someone who's got the experience.
Yes.
But do you think it's important for the APC, as the majority party in the Senate, given all the things that you talked about, you know, the numerical, you know, issues and so on, is it important for the APC to, at the very least, ensure that there is equity in the distribution of the leadership roles in the Senate? Because if it doesn't do that, that might actually create more problems.
We have to be careful, Charles, because in the National Assembly, you know, I understand the politics of National Assembly very, very well, you know, which is completely different from ordinary politics. And I'm telling you that even that number that APC has, if they're not very well managed, some APC lawmakers can move. They're still APC, but their sympathy can shift.
Yes, to somewhere else.
So, and they can even go out because of if their choice is not accepted, you understand, they can go and team up.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. Like, okay, do you know Okadibo? There were two strong groups of PDP in the Senate. So some of us opposition now joined, out of sympathy, joined the other group that broke away. But they didn't leave their party, they're still there. So now, the choice of leadership, because after proclamation, the clerk of the assembly will call the house to order, and on that day, the leadership, that's the Senate president, will be voted. Afterwards, the parties will now go to pick their leaders. Now, APC being the ruling party and numerically stronger than the other parties, would obviously produce the leadership. And all the other parties will now go and produce it. But the 4 or 5 parties cannot produce one leader. So either they choose the party that has the highest number, which I understand now is PDP, that has like 30-something, 32 or so. So either they add their number, they decide to, you know, collaborate. You
mean PDP has the highest of the opposition? Of the
opposition, yeah. You understand? So obviously, the minority leader would emerge from there.
Yeah.
Or they come together, you know, they may have an arrangement where they collaborate and come together and pick somebody from any other party to be the minority leader. But I want to believe that PDP will produce the minority leader. Then they now have the minority which can spread around, because it's very unusual. So democracy is playing around, and I'm very, very excited about this. I'm glad my party won election, but I'm happy that there are many parties, so we have to learn, you know, to adapt to democracy. You know, because there are many parties there, so there has to be a lot of work, a lot of collaboration. You know, every party is a party that produces leadership. So they have to come together.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's look at what you would be, what for you would be local politics. The governorship race in your home state of Cross River.
Yes.
You came out of political retirement, if you like, to support with enormous gusto the candidate of the APC.
Yeah.
And he's made history as the first governor of Cross River State to be elected on the platform of a party that's not the PDP.
Yes, yes.
How big a vote of confidence is that for you?
You mean for me?
Well, for you, your efforts, your politics, and so on.
Number one, I am a product of the media and the next generation, the youth. And even though I was trying to retire, I believe that I still had the responsibility of encouraging the next generation, you understand, to come. So, for instance, in the assembly, there are people that wanted to stay there forever, and they were no longer mentally or, you know, anyway active, they just stayed there. So we had to flush those people out to bring in fresh, you know, brain, fresh blood, new generation there. Now, this guy has been trampled upon so much in the past, you know, kind of stopped his career in the National Assembly, but it's an exceptionally good human being. You don't find politicians like Prince Tutu, the man that just won election. He's very, very kind, very, very understanding, very, very friendly with the people, you know, the common man on the street, you know. I don't even think they're going to call him Excellency because they're still calling him Prince. So since such a material, we needed such a material, somebody who has the fear of God, a humble human being, a good person. Because most of the governors have become tyrants, they become dictators, they don't care about the feeling of the people. So I came out, again, I was also fighting injustice. Because the North had their share, the Central had. You know, the Central had first, then he went to the North. So obviously he would have come back to the South. But there were serious attempts to trample on that and, you know, for power to go back to Central. So we had to come out to fight. So I fought with every old bone in my body.
Well, you won.
Yeah, so I fought. And And this state is good because everybody joined us at the end of the day.
Right.
There was this understanding that, yes, there should be rotation. Yes, when it's your turn, it should be your turn. So everybody joined us and we worked and we won the election. I'm very pleased, it's one of the things that I'm happy about towards the end of my career, that I achieved.
Well,
Yes.
we're happy for you.
Thank
I
you.
want to thank you
Thank
very
you.
much indeed for
Thank
coming
you.
in to talk to us and to share your experience with us. And I hope the people who are in charge are listening. Senator Princess Florence Ita Giwa, OON, is the former presidential special advisor on National Assembly matters. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Chad. It was such a delight. Rather short though, but I enjoyed every minute. I wish you could
Everybody
talk some
says
more.
it's short.
Honestly.
They just don't realize that they've been talking for the last 25
Oh my
minutes.
God, I can't believe that.